In 1997 or 8, Coppola made The Rainmaker in Hollywood. It's a John Grisham adaptation with Matt Damon. It's a wonderful movie, but it's a straightforward, movie, lovely and beautiful and brilliant.
Simple movie.
Yes, but it's a movie, right? It's a movie you'd be familiar with if you sat down and watched it. You've seen movies like it before, and you will again. In 1997, Coppola said, I made Rainmaker, I'm done. I don't want to make Hollywood movies anymore. I want to be a student of filmmaking, and I want to develop more skills. I want to self-finance. I want to go small, and that's exactly what he did. He didn't make a movie for 10 years, and then he started making a series of weird, low-budget movies that we'll talk about in the second hour, but they were each one, Brett, sort of a different testing ground, different flavors or different things he hadn't tried yet, which, must have been, he tried so much, but there's still some stuff he didn't do. And it was all building towards this idea he's had for, decades, where he wants to make this movie Megalopolis, okay? And it's going to be him using every skill and technique he's learned since he was 16 years old working in the theater, all the way, through Twixt, everything he's ever known about life, philosophy, love, creation, art, and filmmaking. He's going to put it all in one feature film. We all know he took $140 million of his own money, and he went down to Peachtree, Georgia, where he films his stuff
Peachtree
sometimes.
City, baby.
Peachtree City, thank you, Georgia. And he went down there. They built a Megalopolis. They took years to make. The reviews started coming out, Brett. Coming out of Cannes.
Yes.
People saw Megalopolis. Oh, this movie's insane. They're never going to be able to sell this movie. No one's ever going to see it. There's no way to market it. It's impossible. It's crazy. It's a mess. Coppola's lost it. But here we are.
Here we are.
It came out.
Happened. He got it over the finish line.
Watched the movie.
I saw it in a theater.
It's
this
about,
week.
It stars Adam Driver, who plays a character named Caesar Catalina, and he lives in a futuristic New York City, and he is a Robert Moses type, aka he's an unelected figure that has incredible power over the city's construction. Caesar is interested in the future, and he's interested in not solving the problems of now, but using alternative methods to solve the problems of then, or there will be. He created his own mineral called
Substance.
Megalon, which is like he can build cool stuff with it.
He can make invisible dresses with it.
He can stop time. He can crush buildings and put buildings up. He can draw stuff. He can do everything. And his name's Caesar Catalina. Just to kind of round out the picture of this film, Brett, we see the opulence and decadence of the time, especially via Jon Voight's actually very funny and very good character.
Good.
Jon Voight. It's so funny. Good. We just watched him in Reagan, like shit the bed, like awfully.
Can I say really quick? Really quick,
yeah.
Because I have a theory that the old Hollywood guys who have gone MAGA, your Dennis Quaid's, your Jon Voight's. What have we learned this month, right?
Yeah.
Put them in your movies so they don't go and do their movies is what we need to do with these MAGA guys. Because Dennis Quaid in The Substance was an absolute riot, whereas in Reagan it was just like, dear God, make it stop, please. And then Jon Voight was hilarious in Megalopolis.
He was
so funny and so well cast. And this will keep them busy so they don't go do God's Not Dead or freaking what is the new Trump movie by the Dinesh D'Souza movie?
Trump's always right, or whatever that's called. No. Trump never dies. We need
to keep these guys working in Indio tour movies. They still got a lot of good work in them.
You get Jon Voight in your movie.
Don't let them go. Do not leave them to their own devices, because they're gonna do freaking God's Not Dead and it's gonna swing the election and be like the deciding 2 votes.
John,
so put them in your movies.
Come
directors.
over here. We'll make a movie.
Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson, Sean Baker, Sofia Coppola. Put these old ass losers in your movies because they still got good work in them.
Yes. Well said. Voight's great, and he's like the king, and he marries Wow Platinum, which is the name of Aubrey Plaza's character. Again, she's funny and great. So there's like all of this sort of excess that Caesar is against. The woman, Natalie, what's her last name? Emmanuel? She's Nathalie Emmanuel. She's from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
She plays Giancarlo Esposito's daughter. Giancarlo's like the mayor.
The mayor.
He's the mayor who's in opposition to Caesar. So I just kind of want to like lay out the basic plot.
Yes, you have all these like you have a couple like archetypal characters:
Yes.
the visionary architect, the mayor, the banker, the
entertainment,
journalist,
right.
the entertainers, and then they're all just competing for control of Megalopolis, which is competing for control of for the future of human civilization, and they all like fight for control, and that's the movie.
So
yes,
this movie also incorporates all sorts of in-camera tricks and CGI
He's pulling it all
elements,
out.
and the screen's getting smaller. And we all famously know, most impactfully, importantly, and crazily, there is supposed to be a part where Adam Driver's giving a press conference, and a literal, physical, human being person in your theater, an actor, is supposed to be in the scene asking him questions. Not because the movie made no money. This only happened like 4 or 5 times in the history of this movie screening, but that's a thing everybody knows about the movie.
In there.
And that also gives you an idea of what Coppola was going for, because it's very obvious what this project for Coppola is and was. He is exploring and pleading with us to continue to explore what is the future of cinema going to be, and what type of cinema will we, humanity, create yet again. That's like the noble question asked by Megalopolis.
So, Joe, you have set the table really well here. We know where this movie came from, how it got to screens, what it means for Coppola.
I think it deserved a little ramp up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this movie? And then I'll tell you what I thought. Yeah. And then we're going to have to rate it out of 5, because this is on your fantasy team.
Yep, this is on my fantasy team. All right, so here's my review of Megalopolis. Coppola is searching desperately for the future of cinema. And he, in Megalopolis, tries 150 different things that we have never seen before in a movie. And not a single one of those 150 things works. But he saved us all the time as we search for the future of cinema. We don't have to worry about the 150 things that he tries during Megalopolis. It's that being said, God, I love Megalopolis. The movie is wildly uneven. It really stretches the definition of the word movie. But there's definitely like a narrative hole there. There's definitely so many gorgeous visuals there, things that I had never seen before. It really like made me think, and it made me passionate about the movies. But man, there was 3 walkouts in my theater. He is sincere in his efforts to try to imagine what cinema is going to be next, but he is too much of a traditionalist. He's too much of an old man or an old soul. He gets none of it right. Like everything that we learned from like aggro drift to Chime this year about like the infinite possibilities of the future of the visual medium and the future of cinema. Coppola just is kind of incapable of dreaming up any of them. Even Caesar's futuristic renderings are like futuristic renderings of like the hotel in space from 1971, He's an old man. It's an old man movie. It's full of a lot of pretension and passion and vigor. He has these like big quotes full of big thoughts, and some of them are like, whoa, yeah. And some of them are like, Jesus, that is the fucking worst line I've ever heard uttered in a motion picture. I mean, there were some parts of this movie where I was like, yeesh, my God, man. How, like, there's vulnerability, and then there's that. And then there was sometimes in this movie where I was like, holy fucking moly. Like, that just took it out from under me. That was amazing. I thought Driver was great and game. He was down to clown. And you know what? He did a hell of a To Be or Not to Be. That was a legitimately good To Be or Not to Be.
That worked so much better than I thought it was going to work. He does the entire To Be or Not to Be speech from Hamlet, but in context, it's very funny.
I went to theater school, and there were some parts of, I had never even heard of that speech until I heard Driver doing it. I was like, whoa. Ah!
Wow.
Ah!
Really quickly, not to sidetrack, but do we know why that couple got in that fight? Was it Megalopolis related in your theater?
I don't know.
Okay.
They were in the back.
You just heard it. It was just
they were like
abstract fight.
One left and they came back, and the other one left and they came back, and then the security had to come. It was an abstract fight. There was 2 walkouts before then Then the fight. Then there was a final walkout. I thought he was going to go get popcorn. He never returned. But at the end, the people that stayed, like the 8, 9 of us, a healthy camaraderie.
I love
a
that.
lot of smiling and backslapping after Megalopolis, because we all just had the time of our lives. Because Megalopolis doesn't work. It's a mess. It's a great time, and we all fucking loved it.
You're the one sitting in the rowboat while the Titanic sinks and people are drowning and freezing to death. You're all in the rowboat, like
we're all like,
we
whoa.
made it, we did it, we made it through.
Can you believe that? So anyway, Driver was great in game. Plaza was super fun. I'm glad that Coppola found so many different flavors of fun. Dude, Shia LaBeouf in this movie. I'm sure you're going to talk about it.
Crazy. Wild man,
Crazy.
wilding out.
So good. I loved at the end when Adam Driver's face was in the big yellow swirl above like the burning metropolis, and he's like, and he says the now famous, "We need to have a great debate about the future." Like, Megalopolis is such the culmination of this kind of thought. Isn't Francis Ford Coppola the fucking best?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
They do not make him like this anymore. This movie's not.
He had to make it himself.
This
with his
movie's
wine
not
money.
great.
He had to build a
movie doesn't work.
He had to build a like $500 million wine empire to get this movie made.
He's like the confluence of American entrepreneurial spirit and like intense artistic stringency that creates this possibly like intoxicating blend of filmmaking that just gets more and more radical and experimental. Megalopolis is going to be talked about forever, Brett. We'll never stop talking about it. It's going to be a reference point forever. I'm so happy it came out. Can I give it my number?
Hold off until I give my number. How about that?
That sounds fair.
Okay. All right. Now, my screening of Megalopolis, and first of all, I'm like weirdly like happy for you that you got to see Megalopolis. I don't know why. I feel like this is just a movie.
No, because I was really looking forward to it.
Yes, yeah, I'm happy for you.
Everything leading up to it was like, it's so crazy. Like, how could it possibly be so crazy? And then it was.
You got Horizon and Megalopolis in the same year. What a gift for you.
I loved it. Man, like the visual. How about that one part where Giancarlo Esposito's like desk is like in the sand? Yes. Like
she has that. His daughter has like a vision of him, and then it's so amazing.
And then how about those big? I was obsessed. This guy's the king of the beautiful crossfade, right? He does it in all his movies to incredible effect.
I was
time and time again.
My favorite one is Godfather Part 2 when it fades from present day Michael to past day Vito.
It's like right on him.
Flawless. The crossfade. It's so flawless.
Every movie randomly, he all of a sudden pulls out this amazing crossfade. Well, in Megalopolis, these massive brown sepia tone visions of like pyramids and Adam Driver and time, and they looked spectacular.
It's amazing.
Okay, but what about you?
All right,
what did you think of Megalopolis?
So my screening of Megalopolis. And I will say, for a weekday matinee of Megalopolis, I walked in and I was like, oh, it was like fairly packed.
Nice.
But also like everyone was like, to the extent that it's possible, everyone was like sitting as far away from each other as possible. So it was like packed and sparse at the same. It was a weird vibe. And everybody, I felt like I'd walked into like the waiting room at jury duty. Like everyone was either like a retiree or like a cinephile without an office job. And so it was like a crowd where you either had like bought a house in Laurel Canyon in the 70s for $50,000 or you were like currently struggling to pay rent in like Atwater Village. It was like those two groups of people together.
Correct.
There was no in between. They were all sitting as far away from each other as possible. They looked like everybody looked sad and miserable and like defeated and like sheepish a little bit. I think everybody else thought that they would be the only person at Megalopolis, but there was a lot of us.
Right.
But Joe, I gotta say, there is no reason for anyone in my screening or anyone in any other Megalopolis screening to feel sheepish, to feel tired, to feel defeated, because once this movie started, Joe, Megalopolis is a freaking blast. Start to finish, a blast. I had so much fun watching this bizarre-ass movie. It is like, there's so little point in like debating if it's a good movie or not, because what a like unique singular cinematic experience it is that this guy put his entire fortune to make and is not going to get, it's going to get very little money back from. I had so much fun watching this. Here's some of the things I like about it. First, Megalopolis is a movie that very self-consciously takes upon itself the burden of satirizing the decline and fall of the American empire, and also placing it in the context of the history of civilization, namely the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. In other words, Megalopolis is trying to not just be relevant, but to be the definitive prophetic movie of our times. It's what Coppola does. It's the only way he knows how to like make movies, right? He's gonna make the movie, and that might mean like I'm gonna make a personal movie, but it's gonna be like the personal movie. I'm gonna make a Megalopolis. It's gonna be like the fucking zeitgeist movie, and yet Megalopolis is so bizarre and singular that it refers to nothing that resembles the world. So it's like trying to be the zeitgeist movie while referring to like nothing that resembles the real world. But I fucking love that. I love that about the movie. I think it's its saving grace, because I don't want to see 85-year-old Francis Ford Coppola making something that is like too closely about Trump, or like too closely about like wokeness or something. Can you imagine? That is not what I want from Coppola. The only thing that this movie refers to is the preoccupations of Francis Ford Coppola. This movie refers back on itself. It is a movie that is just the expression of Coppola's imagination. And for all of the like from the imagination of taglines that we see on movies, from the imagination of John Krasinski, from the mind that brought you Superstore or whatever, right? This is the only guy who deserves the from the imagination of title, because Megalopolis is a movie that only exists because of Francis Ford Coppola's imagination, and only could have come from 80-year-old Francis Ford Coppola's imagination. One of, if not the greatest American filmmaker of all time, ensconced deep in his Napa estate, listening to his Verdi records, his La Boheme record, reading Ovid, cracking open another bottle of Montepulciano. He definitely doesn't drink his own wine. No. And loosely, I stress, loosely keeping track of the world through like, checking TV and Twitter every once in a while. But this movie is, for all of its posturing about being like about America and empire and decline and stuff, this is just Francis Ford Coppola's imagination unbound, and I fucking love it. I also underestimated how kooky and silly and funny this movie would be. This movie was cracking me up. It's so silly, it's so choreographed, it goes so fast. It's almost like, he's having trouble financing his own movies. It almost felt like Coppola, because how he works in different modes and different styles and genres. It almost felt like he tried to make like a Terry Gilliam movie or something. It had that like kooky, like that. Had this like that kooky sort of rhythm to it. You know what I mean?
It has that like satirical.
But this is like Coppola's version of that mode. Right. So it doesn't feel like it just has like sort of the architecture and sort of stylings of a Terry Gilliam movie, but very much a Coppola movie at the same time. And the big difference, the thing that separates this from Terry Gilliam movies, is this movie is funny. It is unexpectedly funny. I loved Spike Jonze's take on Megalopolis. It totally resonated with me. Spike Jonze, Coppola's former son-in-law, was exuberant about the movie in his review. He had nothing but praise, and most importantly, he said, I laughed out loud the whole time. Yeah. Spike, same. This movie was cracking me up. Absolutely. A couple specifics. Shia LaBeouf is so fucking funny in this movie. He's fucking his sister, because this is all based on like Roman Empire stuff. He's got a little rat tail. He wears this like wide brim hat around. He's always like dancing around and like slinking around, and he talking like incomprehensible shit, just like little phrases, and like he's like, it reminded me of like Dennis Hopper on the set of Apocalypse Now. Like Shia's like is trying to be that person in the Coppola movie. There's one point after he frames Caesar, Adam Driver's character. He frames Caesar for having sex with a minor during his dad's wedding reception by projecting it on the screen of Madison Square Garden where the reception's happening. And at the time, he's dressed like one of the Vestal Virgins, again, because everything is just ancient Rome stuff. And he says like to himself, he goes, revenge tastes best while wearing a dress. And I was like, this movie fucking rocks. This is the craziest movie. It's so much fun. And speaking, we said John Voight is so funny. I was shocked by how funny he could be.
Me too.
Let's see. Aubrey Plaza is great. Aubrey Plaza is the only one that seems to like get the movie. Like because she's almost strategic in like playing for camp and laughs. I think Aubrey figured out what the movie was because her performance is like very in line.
Well, she just wasn't tricked by like, oh, this is a big serious deal. She just read the script and said, oh, my character's really funny. I'll just do my
She's
thing.
like, I get these beats, these bits. Like, but she really gets the spirit and the vibe of the movie. There's one point where Aubrey Plaza gets Jon Voight a gold statue of himself in front of Madison Square Garden for their wedding, and he looks at it and he goes, and this is it, huh?
Great movie.
He's like, this is it.
Yeah, Jon Voight might be the MVP of the movie.
Of himself. There's a scene where Talia Shire, Coppola's younger sister, talks about string theory. I'm sorry, this movie's supposed to be bad? What are people talking about? This movie fucking rocks.
Yeah, but when people say it's bad, like I get it, like it is bad, right?
But it's like what?
Do those people?
Are you happy with that review? Does that feel like the movie you saw?
Yeah, right.
To call it bad.
It was bad.
A bad
How
movie?
Was it bad? It's like, come on.
That doesn't resonate.
That can't be your answer.
Honest to my experience in watching.
Like
the movie.
I get what you're saying. It is bad. I get
what you mean, but that's not an honest reaction to what this movie is doing.
Come on. It gave you no joy. It was bad. It didn't make you think or make you feel or make you laugh or smile. Like get out of here.
Be honest about your reactions to the movie. Adam Driver strutting through the city looking like Orson Welles in F for Fake with his little like he's dressed like Coppola. He just dresses like this is like 3 movies in a row. He's just a big fat old Italian guy now. That's all Adam Driver can do. It's like Coppola saw Ferrari and was like, that's me. That's that's Caesar Catalina. Bring him in here. I love it. There's one point where Driver like snaps his cape, and I was like, he's wearing a cape?
Yeah,
I forgot he was wearing a cape. He wears a cape around. He's got a big brimmed hat. He's same with LaBeouf. He's just like spouting these like nonsensical aphorisms, but they're so funny. He's doing like weird little soft shoe moments. He's like putting on a show on the red carpet. You know the way like Elon Musk will like put a show on the red carpet and it's so awkward. Adam Driver's like putting on a little Elon Musk show.
He does his little dances. I know. I like how Caesar. He's such like this forward-thinking genius, but he still like does the press thing, and he still plays his part in the culture.
He's weirdly media savvy.
Yes,
for
he's
like
very
an
media
eccentric
savvy.
Architect.
Yes.
When Coppola cuts from the opening credits of the movie to just a shot of the Milky Way galaxy, I was like, here we go.
Finally.
Here we go. It's like it felt like when your like team returns the opening kickoff for a touchdown. It was like it's like out of the gate. We are in it. We're ready to go. The vibes are good. And I cannot stress this enough. It is like it's also so refreshing that this movie is not like Coppola hasn't spent the last 20 years on Facebook is what this movie told me. Coppola has spent the last 20 years doing what Coppola does, reading and listening to his opera records, because it's so refreshing to watch a movie do like cultural zeitgeist that isn't like extremely online, you know. It didn't have any of like the terminology of our culture. It had none of the memes of our culture. It was like a movie about our culture that by someone who hasn't been paying attention to the culture, and because of that,
it had like a Jan 6
charm.
reference, and that's it.
And it was so light and tangential. Yeah. It is like, you know, and you can point to people as like that person's sort of Trumpy or this and that, but he doesn't do any of that like hard. Like, and that is what's so charming about the movie is it really just exists on like Coppola Island. In fact, I think I want to invent a new phrase for Megalopolis, which is you've heard extremely online. This movie is minimally online. This movie is like online to the small. This movie is only online to like file for a copyright trademark. Right. This movie is minimally online
on the DMV website.
And because of that, a funny like byproduct of that though is that because Coppola is completely unaware that like the conceits of the West and civilization and all of this have just been completely co-opted by like 4chan white supremacists, and Coppola is just completely unaware of that and just plows through with like, you know, the West and civilization and everything, because I was thinking there was moments where I was like, what if I had to force like parallels and analogs, who are these people in real life? And I think Adam Driver is Jordan Peterson is the only thing I could come up with.
Adam Driver is Francis Ford Coppola.
But I'm talking about but only because Coppola is not paying attention to like the culture. So like if you had to force like analogs and comparisons, the movie starts to become so ridiculous because all of these people in real life are like the worst people.
Okay.
But these are just like Coppola's, again, like not online Coppola in his Napa estate version of everything. And so it's not, look, it's just a thought experiment. I was just like, who would these people really be? And the fact is they would be losers that you didn't want to watch a movie about. Instead, in Coppola's mind, these are like these visionary, elevated archetypes because he's not living in like the ditch of online media all day, I assume. That's what this movie tells me, is that Coppola is not on X, but he is deep into Ovid still and Plutarch.
So much Ovid.
So look, I had so much fun watching this movie.
Let's give it a number, man. It's time.
Look, okay.
Number's hard.
Here's the thing.
I know my number.
Because I'm like, where do I even...
I know my number.
You know, we've said before, this is either going to be a 1 or a 5. There's no in between for Megalopolis, this and that.
Oh.
Francis Ford Coppola, we got to see what Francis Ford Coppola would do with a huge budget, which is amazing. We've never really seen that before. And he had to do it himself, and now we got to see it. He made a movie with a $130 million budget and no oversight. This is exactly that movie. This is the movie that Coppola makes when he gets $130 million and no oversight. That is what makes Megalopolis so much fun. It is so Coppola. Simply the fact that it exists is like part of its charm and its value. That this guy just didn't disappear into some like red wine retirement stupor. This guy raged against the dying of the light. This movie, honestly, nothing in history has ever raged harder against the dying of the light than Megalopolis. Yeah. And for that reason, Joe, for the way that it rages against the dying of the light, for the fact that this guy made this movie when he was 85 years old, I'm giving Megalopolis 5 freaking stars, baby. 5-star movie. 5-star movie. And that's honest.
That's brilliant.
5-star movie.
God damn. God, I love that. Yeah, and that's 5 big ones up on the points for me. Brett, much like you, I have to be honest. And here's the facts. I thought about this all week. I want to give Megalopolis the fairest thing I can, which is a 3. I'm giving Megalopolis 3. Here's why. 2.5 is what it deserves. But you get half a star.
That's the funniest review.
You get half a star because I fucking loved it. Even though I know it's like not good, I love it. 3 stars to Megalopolis.